A2theK. Coming up tonight on the Ringside Report. Kurt Angle's WWE return cancelled.
Brian Kendrick's AEW debut has been scrapped after controversial comments.
Santino Marella's daughter signed by WWE.
Keith Lee and Mia Yim get married.
More AEW cuts coming soon.
WWE reportedly have a talk with Ronda Rousey.
WWE trademarks Sunday Stunner.
Laredo Kid signs with Impact Wrestling.
EC3's Control Your Narrative show to run live events.
Sonny Kiss talks representation in AEW.
And Tony Khan confirms free agent set to debut on Dynamite. And Anthony, when's all this coming up?
It's all coming up, Carl. Right fucking now.
Yes, it is. Okay, let's kick things off with the first one. So, if you joined us last week, you may remember we were pretty happy with some news from last week that Kurt Angle was returning to WWE. Well, that's not happening anymore, fortunately. Kurt revealed on his podcast that his return has been scrapped at the last second. So he's quoted as saying, "I did receive a call from WWE. They wanted me to be involved in the show for the next month or so. I'm really excited about it, and we'll see what they've got in store for me." But then he's since come out and said he went to the Royal Rumble. He wanted him to do a short program that they ended up cancelling at the last second. But he wants to make it clear he's not signed with WWE. They weren't going to sign him anyway. It was going to be a 3-week program. It got cancelled. But his obligation now is just to the Kurt Angle show, and that's it. So yeah, what a shame. I wonder. Obviously, no more further information's come out in terms of what that program might have been, or who it would have been with, what it might have entailed. But it sounds like he was potentially going to come back in the Rumble to set something up for 3 weeks and maybe do something in Saudi, but doesn't seem to have been the case. Obviously, with that 3-week kind of timeline, that would kind of indicate what the plan was for some kind of blow-off match in Saudi. But wonder who it could have been with.
Disappointing stuff, man. Disappointing stuff.
Shame.
Like, as you say, we were talking about it last week. I believe we were both referring to his retirement match, if you will, and wanted some sort of what's the word? Not a revisit of that particular match, but redemption. Thank you, Carl. That's what you're here for. You give me the big words when I don't have the big words.
That's it.
But yeah, somewhat disappointing. But it is what it is. Yeah, he's a talented guy. I'm sure he'll find business elsewhere.
It's true.
I kid, of course. He's minted. It's true. Fuck.
Yeah.
So it's my one.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk some controversy, shall we, Carl? So a lot of people may recall Brian Kendrick was scheduled to debut in AEW's Dynamite. Unfortunately for Brian, and this may be news that a lot of people are aware of at this point, going out on his Twitter this week, but basically some past comments of Kendrick's have resurfaced, which I won't go into the details of those comments. You can find them on the internet if you wish, but he's basically voicing support for anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. And as a result, Tony Khan announced that Kendrick was replaced in his match and would no longer be making his AEW debut tonight. Well, not tonight, but that was what he said, not what I'm saying, right? So, unfortunately, I say unfortunately, I mean, I don't know how you feel about these comments, Carl, or whether you feel he deserves a second chance or not, but this is it's sidelined potentially interesting storylines and plot points, and it's sidelined, or certainly sidelined, might actually be the end of it, I don't fully know, of his run in AEW. But Brian hasn't just left this sort of, he hasn't just stayed on silence. He's actually made some response to this. First one saying that I apologise for all the hurt and embarrassment I've caused with my words. These are not my beliefs and never were beliefs of mine, and I crossed the line. He then followed that up with another tweet that said, I spread the most vile comments without thinking of the damage it would cause. I will live with this regret for the rest of my life, and I'm truly sorry for the pain I have caused. So, he's stepped up and apologised for those comments, but you've got to wonder, with all due respect to him, how does that, they were never his beliefs, so how do you end up making those comments in the first place? It's not, do you know what I mean? It's not like a joke said in poor taste or whatever. It was like conspiracy theories, and it's like, wait, what are you like? I don't know. I was a bit. I'm not going to say like, oh, he's not sincerely sorry, but you go, well, you must have. Did you not believe it? Like, what was the point in your comments in the first place then? But
yeah. With the comments, did he like tweet it, or is it stuff that have like surfaced from like an interview he gave or something like that? Like, I don't know. Like if he's tweeted them out like from his personal account of like, this is what I'm saying, then you're kind of hard to say that he didn't at least believe that at some point in time. If it's something he said on a podcast or an interview of some sorts.
I mean, to be fair, it's come from a video posted, so I believe it's not been like he's not sat and typed it out and thought about it, I suppose. But it's not great,
No, definitely not. Even to be kind of saying those kind of things in the first place, whether it's taken out of context or whatever, like you have to wonder what you could have been thinking at that time to even say them. But yeah, it's a massive shame for him in some sense, because he had been trying for ages, by all accounts, to get out of his WWE contract. He's finally got out of it, managed to get straight into AEW as a big shock and surprise, and then based on these things resurfacing, he's unable to even do that. So if the AEW thing is now kind of dead in the water, then who knows where he goes next from here. But goes to show.
There's no report that I can find on his status with AEW, but you've got to imagine I don't think that'd have been well received, like, by anyone, if you know what I mean. So I don't know. Maybe that feels like he might be done with AEW. They might accept that he's rather regretful about his comments. I believe his original comments, not that it justifies it, by the way, was in relation to conspiracy theories that he was voicing or believing about the Rockefeller and Rothschilds. Just to lend a little bit of context to sort of what he was talking about. Again, you can find it simply enough on the internet if you wanted to sort of find the video. But again, you just, I don't know. You don't know. Yeah. It's one of them things. I know people can say stuff and it can be taken out of context and stuff. I just can't. In this, I'm like, well, was it taken out of context though? Like, or was it stuff you didn't believe? I don't know. I don't know how you end up accidentally making sort of comments, but whatever.
Well, exactly. But yeah, let's see what impact it has on him going forward, I guess. So the next one to talk about, more positive news, is Santino Marella's daughter, Bianca Carelli, has been signed to WWE. So Santino was on the Stories with Briscoe and Bradshaw podcast, and basically he said that my daughter is starting at the PC in 2 weeks. She got hired. She's a beast, man. She's going to be an absolute top tier player. She was identified from a young child. She won her school speeches and she was Miss Teen Ontario. She's a television personality and she's tall and she's strong. In a couple of years, I can't wait to go to WrestleMania just as a parent going to watch their kid. I don't want to do anything. I don't want to sign. I don't want to talk to anybody. I'm just there to watch my kid and I just can't wait for that. But now I've got a 3-year-old, a 6-month-old, and this whole new chapter of growing up in the country with like chickens. It's a whole. Great news. Obviously, we're aware of Santino, his comments in the past around obviously believing his daughter was ready for WWE and that she was going to get there one day and she was going to go on to be a big star. And step one done. She's managed to get signed by WWE for the Performance Center. So
step 2, big star.
Exactly. Step 2, WrestleMania. Great news, and huge congratulations to Bianca and to Santino and the whole family, really. So nice positive news story.
Indeed. Well, you know what, Carl, while we're on that train, I think another huge congratulations and some more great news go out to Keith Lee and Mia Yim, who this week got married. I want to say the 5th. I don't want to be wrong on that. I believe it was the 5th. So obviously this is just quite simply congratulations to the pair of them. We knew they were engaged and they've obviously been very happy together for a number of years. We've seen quite recently a few tweets going out from different people. We saw the likes of Shelton Benjamin in attendance at the wedding, putting some pictures up. They look absolutely made up. It looks like it was a great day, and congratulations to the pair of them is all I need to say, really.
Definitely. Obviously huge congrats to them. I think there's been some stuff that's come out today. Obviously there's the impending signing with AEW, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. But I know Mia posted a picture on Twitter that was supposedly from their honeymoon. However, the eagle-eyed amongst us had noticed that it looked very similar to something she'd posted like a year or two ago. So maybe from the same holiday that she took then.
So you're saying they might have cut the honeymoon short to debut in AEW?
Or they've not even got on the honeymoon yet.
She hasn't had the time to bask in his glory.
I love it. Well, he is limitless. That's all I'm saying. But yeah, so obviously great news for the pair of them, but who knows? Maybe we'll be seeing them sooner than we think. All to be discussed shortly. But yeah, congratulations to the pair of them. The next one to talk about. So, Tony Khan has recently given an interview to TV Insider. And one of the questions that got brought up is obviously now that AEW has been around for 3 years, a lot of people's deals are slowly coming up for renewal. So they've kind of asked him what goes into deciding whether to offer new contracts or just kind of let it play out and cut ties. And basically, Tony had responded to that by saying that, when they started, a lot of people had contracts that were like a couple of years long, and a lot of them kind of coming up. He's tried very hard to be considerate of the people on the roster, especially in the pandemic, and basically not kind of cutting people or anything like that, and kind of keeping them under contract throughout this, because at the end of the day, there was only AEW and WWE that were really hiring people and actually putting on shows during this time. So there was no indie shows, so he's tried to do his best to basically make sure everyone has been taken care of throughout the pandemic. But what he's basically alluded to is saying that at the end of the day, he wanted to give job security to some people, but now with so many wrestlers coming in, unfortunately he can't renew all the contracts. So he's had to make some tough choices based on ability, fan response, or both. And so ultimately he's trying to maintain the best roster that he can for the company and for the fans, but ultimately there will be contracts that are going to be expiring and have expired already. So
isn't it funny, because there's so many people they've been waiting for this, and it is logical at some point you're going to have to make some cuts, and people have been waiting for this because WWE have been cutting people left and right quite savagely during the pandemic, and people are like, oh, AEW will get there, like they'll have to eventually and so on, and they're waiting for it like they can just jump on it and be like, see, he's able to. But I put money on the fact that when those contracts come up, he's not going to hold them for 90 days.
No. I mean, do you know what though? Even that in itself is such an interesting debate, because I actually don't. I mean, I say I don't mind the 90 days. I don't know how the best to phrase it, but essentially, in WWE's world, they release somebody, but they still pay them for 3 months from the point they've been released. Now, I understand that prevents them from, while their momentum is, super hot from being released, going to another company, making a debut and all that kind of stuff, it, kind of dampens them a little bit for 3 months. I get that. But at the same time, they're being told they're released, but they've got 3 months to sort something out. Now, I don't know how AEW does it. I can't imagine they're just going to be like, well, yeah, as we know, your days have expired now, so you're gone. You're out of a job. I imagine there's still something like that they know ahead of time and things like that. But I've always found it an interesting one, because a lot of people go like, oh, you're holding me to ransom for 90 days and things. And it's like, yeah, but you're still getting paid for them 90 days.
I've got quite a ransom, yeah.
So yeah, it's like I get it though, especially from like a momentum standpoint.
Like that, because most of the people you hear that they want to get on, they want to wrestle. That's what they're there for. So the 90 days is a bad thing. But you're quite right. There are some people out there who that 90 days will be a godsend, because they haven't got anything on the cards, or maybe haven't got a decent signing and could do with the money for the next 3 months. So in all fairness, it's not a bad deal. It's just limiting when, I suppose it's more prevalent with WWE, isn't it, when they were releasing talent like Braun Strowman and the like, for instance, who wear big draws. That doesn't sound right. He wears big draws, and they could capitalise on that, but can't, because of the 90 day that hindered him.
Yeah.
But obviously there are plenty of people who were released who took advantage of that, and you haven't heard from them since.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, it's an interesting one. Obviously, everybody knew, there's no denying it, that with more and more people coming in, especially like some big players coming into AEW on significant contracts, significant kind of salaries, that it just wasn't going to be feasible for him to still have everybody. So it was coming. I think we all knew that. We know a couple of people who have been kind of, I think Peter Avalon, even though there was kind of rumours that he's still with AEW. He's basically accepting indie dates. Marco Stunt is another example of that. I believe Brian Cage is going to be gone. So they're the ones we kind of already know about.
I feel a little bit sorry for Marco Stunt because it's like, by all accounts, he's lost his position to Christian.
Yeah.
It's like, well, we got Christian now. You can go away.
Yeah, which
don't get me wrong. From a business point of view, you'd sooner have Christian. No offense, Marco, but
yeah, I mean it's interesting that they've even brought him into that position anyway. To be honest,
that's the weird thing. Is like he didn't need to be part of the Jurassic Express, but okay.
Exactly, it's a very weird thing to bring him into. But yeah, I think who knows who else has already been cut or who else contracts are kind of coming up imminently. But it seems like there's going to be a few more at least. So yeah, watch this space.
Indeed. So my one, Carl, is a bit of a speculative one because there's not a lot of detail on who they spoke to and what they spoke about. But the next one I want to talk about is the fact that WWE have reportedly had to have talks with Ronda Rousey. And I want to let you jump off on this because I know this kind of echoes some of the points you were making in This Week in Wrestling. For those who haven't listened to This Week in Wrestling, go enjoy. It's a great time. But basically, it was reported quite recently by Uncle Dave that Ronda, when returning, maybe still, was a little bit unhappy with the fans. It said that she was still quite bitter with the fans turning on her during the initial run with the company, and basically that she, talk backstage, so they don't say who had the talk with her or whichever. It appears that they've worked things out, and you can tell from her promo on Friday SmackDown, in the fact that you could see her engaging with the audience a bit more, high-fiving and stuff like that. So it seems that, like, I think you mentioned this in This Week in Wrestling, which is why I want to give you a jumping off point about it, because we don't have a lot of info beyond that. Like, that, someone spoke to her and now she's cool. But it seems that what you were saying, though, was completely right, that she just seems pissed off and doesn't want to be there, and so on.
She does not want to be there. She's literally just there for a payday. It's so evident and clear to see, and it's such a shame, to be fair, because I know how excited she was when, in that first initial run. And unfortunately, as I said on This Week in Wrestling, it's well documented that she is not a fan of taking criticism. She couldn't take it very well in MMA, and unfortunately that seems to have travelled with her to the wrestling world as well. I think she's come out previously and said that the fans are not booing a character, they're booing her, and so she takes it personally. And it's like, well, yeah, but you are still playing a character, whether it's your own name or whatever, like, surely, otherwise.
And this is where she doesn't like the wrestling business, because you either lean in heat you're getting, whether it was from you being yourself or not, and become the heel that they want you to be, and use that, or you get pissed off and leave.
Well, exactly, and it's like, it's great if the fans are always on your side and you can play a babyface the whole time, but when they're not, you need to kind of embrace your kind of heel side. So, yeah, I think it's such a shame because, as I say, she was so excited in that first run. You could tell that she was loving it and was really happy to be there. Now she just doesn't want to be there. She's there for the money, for one last hurrah, I would say, and then. Yeah, and I don't buy into this whole, someone spoke to her, now it's all changed. I think basically they went, look, we're paying you a boatload of money, at least, crack a smile and high-five a fan on your way to the ring. Cheers. Do you know what I mean? I just, the quicker she fucks off, the better, because she doesn't want to be there, and what's the point, But, like, it sounds horrible, but at the same time, like, why have someone like her take someone's spot, like fucking, a Liv Morgan, or a Nikki Ash, or some, people who deserve that spot, who are putting their effort in on a weekly basis because someone's got a name from a few years ago. Like, okay. So yeah. Very, very blunt take, I'm sure, but it's just how I feel.
No, I'm with you, man. I'm with you. Saudi money, hungry people in it.
All the Saudi money. So the next one to talk about then is a bit of an interesting one. So WWE have filed to trademark WWE Sunday Stunner. So they made the filing on February 3rd, and in the description it is entertainment services, namely a show about professional wrestling. So I guess we're going to be getting some kind of show called Sunday Stunner. Now,
I think it's going to have a Stone Cold connection.
Well, I was thinking this. So it could either be a premium live event, because we can't say pay-per-view anymore because we don't pay for them. But it could either be a premium live event, but a lot of them are moving to Saturdays now. So part of me thinks, is that going to be the case? Then the other part of me made that Stone Cold connection, much like yourself, and was like, is that going to be something else, maybe for the network? But then I also thought, Kevin Owens, he's using the stunner now. So I'm thinking maybe it's some kind of network show for him. Obviously, recently re-signed with the company.
The
maybe
KO
that was
show
part
may
of
have
the
gone into premium live event territory, maybe.
Well, exactly. Maybe he's gonna have a weekly show on a Sunday called the Sunday Stunner, or what the fuck it's called.
Yeah.
But that would probably be my guess. To be fair, I don't see. I can't see it being used for a premium live event, if I'm honest. Could be,
Can't
but
really see
I can't see it.
connection because he's doing well enough with the
exactly.
Broken Skull sessions.
So, yeah, if I was a betting man, I would say it's going to involve Kevin Owens in some way, and I think if you do that, then fair play. He's so good. He's very charismatic. He's a witty dude. He's got a lot of personality. He absolutely should be the kind of guy who's got like some kind of show on the network or something. And to be fair, the network is a bit dry, other than like Broken Skull sessions or whatever. Like it doesn't get updated frequently at all. Certainly not as much as it used to. So, I'd like to see more kind of original shows on there, to be honest. So, interesting one.
Agreed, Carl. Agreed. Well, speaking of interesting ones, Carl, just another quick one from me, and that is for fans of Impact Wrestling and for fans of AAA. We can now confirm that Laredo Kid confirmed confirms his contract with Impact Wrestling. So he's made a bit of a statement about it. Obviously, being the I believe he was the AAA World Cruiserweight Champion, but he's basically confirmed that his goal for Impact is to go for the X Division title. Because when he started in wrestling business, he basically saw all the wrestlers go for the X Division, people like AJ Styles and that's what motivated him to be a good wrestler and to work hard. So we can confirm that he is contracted with Impact now. Obviously, he has wrestled for for a number of companies, but you may note him, Carl, because I know we don't watch a lot of the other programming, but he debuted in 2019 in AEW for the Fighter Fest match. He's also worked some MLW and GCW and so on, and has actually worked Impact before now, but it looks like we're going to be seeing him a lot more regular, and he's going for the X Division title. So more power to him.
Yeah, defo. It's nice to see more and more people choosing Impact as a viable option, to be fair, and kind of committing to them as a company. Agree. I think a lot of the talent they've got who work there aren't actually officially signed with the company, so it's nice that they are still making signings as well, as opposed to just being kind of like a show for appearances. Because like you look at Matt Cardona, Chelsea Green, and the like. I don't even think Mickie James is technically officially signed with Impact. I think she's still NWA. So a lot of their talent and their champions aren't actually signed to the company. So yeah, I'd say it's a big win for them. Obviously, he's a talented dude.
What makes me laugh with the when you go beyond AEW and WWE and they're standing there like, oh, we're opening forbidden doors and stuff like that. And you got like the likes of Impact and MLW and all the indies. Like, you guys have doors.
Yeah.
It's totally different fucking world for them.
Your door's open, ours are fucking revolving, mate.
Fucking revolving, mate.
I realised I said it with a weird accent, I don't know why. Fucking revolving in that. But yeah, so fair play to Laredo Kid. Obviously won a lot of championships in his time, AAA and stuff. So yeah, good to see him go after that X Division title.
Indeed.
So the next one. It's not something I'm massively familiar with. Obviously, we know basically EC3 has kind of started Control Your Narrative, where obviously it's featured the likes of Braun Strowman previously as a bit of a different take on professional wrestling. So it's not affiliated with any other promotion. It's kind of set to like an original score of music and things like that. But they've actually, based off the early success they've had, they've decided to run some live events. So they are going to be doing two of them called Awakening Live. So it's going to be a show in Orlando on March 5th and a show in Dallas on March 31st, which is the Thursday WrestleMania week, interestingly, in Dallas as well. So I imagine it could draw quite a bit of crowd. But yeah, so I think obviously it's got EC3 as part of that roster. Adam Scherr, formerly Braun Strowman, shows up, and I believe the former Karrion Kross is also going to be part of it as well, which is an interesting one. But yeah, I think fair play. It's an interesting time for the wrestling scene at the minute, isn't it? There's a little mini boom around it. I think obviously AEW is doing fantastic numbers. WWE's got record breaking deals in place. You've got your Impacts, and your other kind of promotions, and then you get stuff like this, which is just another alternative again, I guess. So more power to them.
Yeah, I mean AEW called it. They said it was all about that boom. So you're quite right.
I like it.
Sorry, just had to throw that in there.
Terrible dad joke.
I know, what a bad person. But no, yeah, it's going to be an interesting one, and I'm very intrigued. I don't really know anything about Control Your Narrative, to be honest with you, but the way they're painting it is like something that we've not really seen before in the way they're approaching wrestling. So I'm super intrigued. I'm going to have to check it out. And there's some big names. EC3 has probably made it bigger outside of WWE. Obviously, Adam Scherr was massive in WWE. Karrion Kross, he was there. He was like in NXT and stuff. Yep. No mention of Scarlett. Whatever. I'm kidding, Karrion. We love you, your boss. Anyway, moving over, Carl. This one, I had to mention this because it's to me, I find it very interesting, especially given some of the recent criticism AEW has had. So, firstly, I want to say, I wanted to point out, but this is talking about LGBTQ representation and representation as a whole in AEW. Now, he was on the sessions with Renee Paquette. The sessions? Is it not called the Oral Sessions anymore?
It used to be called Oral Session. I think she has changed it, to be fair.
Let me just double check that. Yeah, this is called the Sessions. I mean, maybe she got sick of all the oral jokes. I don't know. Anyway, so he was recently on the Sessions with Renee Paquette. So if you're truly interested, you want to hear everything he had to say, instead of just my slightly paraphrased, out of context notes, then, by all means, check it out. And if, you probably listened to that before you listen to us, if I'm honest. But, fuck it. If you're here and you haven't listened to it, listen to it. I don't care. Right. But there's a couple of bits that come from it, Carl. So obviously he's talked very positively in general about LGBTQ representation in wrestling these days, and obviously there's a long way to go, but he's just basically stated that it's a lot better in the 2020s from the last decade to now. He referred to obviously a number of talents in the locker room and how, basically there were times that you wouldn't see that much representation there, and he obviously listed names like himself, Nyla, Anthony Bowens, Layla Hirsch, Kira Hogan, Aubrey, Sonya Deville, Jake Atlas, and it is, you get to a point that you go, and I feel bad for saying this, but I didn't realise the list was that long or that exhaustive. There were names on there that I didn't even realise were, you know what I mean? And that they are all part of the LGBT community, so that's brilliant. And he basically, one of the really interesting points I thought he made, firstly, was he was saying about the approach to wrestling, and he cited Anthony Bowens as one of the examples, and he was saying that basically that the best thing is to just let them be them. As far as storylines go, there's like it doesn't sort of have to be the focal point, and this is where he cites Anthony Bowens. He said basically that if you look at Bowens on TV, you don't think of Bowens as the gay wrestler. He's just Anthony Bowens. You don't look at Layla and even identify her, really, is another comment he made. And he said it's about like the storytelling that doesn't always have to be the gay guy. And to the point he said he's pitched stories for himself where it weren't about like the fact that he's part of the community or the fact that he's gender fluid or anything like that. It's just been a really good storyline, and although he's not on TV a lot at the moment, he doesn't. So he's sort of very positive about AEWs and their approach to that sort of thing. But I like that comment he made, because, like you say, there's a point. I'm a bit, and obviously people probably don't really need my input in the LGBT community, but I find it. I can see what he's saying about the Anthony Bowens thing, because you only know because we've got such access to social media and you know about his personal life. It doesn't actually come up at all in his character work or his wrestling, but you can understand the need to sort of push that as well, because if you didn't know, then you wouldn't know they're being represented in some ways. Do you know what I mean? So I get why people want to lean into the sort of the character work around it and be the gay wrestler, if you will, and stuff like that. But I really like this point that it doesn't have to be all about that, and overall, they can feel a lot more represented than they have in the past, which is fantastic.
Yeah, it's a balance, isn't it? At the end of the day, it's having that representation, but it's not the single defining characteristic of the person. So it's like, you know what I mean, and it is having that balance of being proud of who they are, and being able to kind of be role models for other people who aren't as supported out there. But at the same time, it's that doesn't have to be everything that they're about. Like, they can completely have storylines and other things that aren't related to it at all. So.
And this is it's funny you say about like having people to look up to, because I think that's something that it's a really hard perspective for us to even gain, and that's why, like, I think as much as like what does my opinion matter to it, in some senses, like, it's kind of why I want to understand it in some senses, because you don't realize that you and me growing up, we had an abundance of representation for us, like people we could look up to, even to the point of like if you wanted to go like someone who was Northern British, we even had that in WWE. You know what I mean? Like, you could fall over it quite easily. But it sort of came up in Swole's podcast the other week when she mentioned their daughter and the like as well. And it's like, when there's people there who are like, they love wrestling or whichever, and they watch wrestling, there's no one they can identify with or they can look up to and go like, there's no one that's like me. Like, I don't know how that feels. And that fascinates me in a way. That's like, I have no concept of how that must feel to someone. And like you say, it can only be a fantastic thing that there is more representation, that more and more people can watch wrestling and see someone that they can look up to and identify with. But I think that's probably what's tweaked my fascination with it, in the sense of like, I would never know how that feels. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's hard to, like, it's impossible to relate to, really, isn't it? So it's yeah.
But one of the last things I want to mention on it, and again, it's well worth listening to the whole sort of episode, but and I don't want to sort of end it like this to go, well, oh look, controversy, right? But he mentions, and it obviously in direct relation to some of the heat they've been getting at the moment, so it certainly felt it, that he mentions quite specifically about AEW, and he says, and I'll give you a couple of quotes here. He says, I want to definitely say that I love being in AEW, and I think that is awesome. AEW allows all of its LGBTQ talent to be themselves and allows everyone in the company to embrace that, and the company does embrace it. Tony Khan is a brown man, Mega is a brown woman, and they are being inclusive and allowing diversity to be seen for sure. I definitely want to make that statement. I'm just saying, I can tell my own stories. If I'm not shown, we'll work on that. And I found that I definitely want to make that statement. To me, that is probably the strongest bit of support I've seen for AEW in terms of support and diversity, because, and I don't for one second think Big Swole went out of her way to say it's not diverse enough. And she was telling her story in her own perspective, and people have jumped on it, right? But right now, the wrestling community are jumping on it and going, AEW doesn't represent people of color and all this kind of stuff. And it's just nice to see that it's like someone's acknowledging the amount of, not just people of color, but the amount of representation that AEW try and have. And when you go, well, all right, they're not no company's perfect, and everyone, there will be areas where you go, well, we could be represented more. But as far as I can see, and I think this sort of echoes that, is they're working their ass off to be as representative as possible. So you got to give them credit there.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, the point you made is everybody's experience is their experience at the end of the day. So, how Sonny feels versus how Swole feels is two very different experiences that they've had, clearly. So I wouldn't, people will look at it as like, oh, it's a clapback at, I forgot a bloody name. I just literally just as Swole. Yeah, people look at it as like, oh, it's a clapback at Swole, but at the way that Sonny's phrased it. But yeah, I'm not too sure. I think ultimately it's just a message that they want it to be heard.
It's the funny thing. People may take that because people like to take and run with things all the time, but this is the problem, because I don't think it'd be a clapback at Swole, because I don't think Swole was particularly clapping at AEW. I know Tony Khan reacted and maybe overreacted, but she was talking about like her as a whole, and as say her daughter, and representation and what she wanted out of it, and people have like gravitated to that and gone, see, AEW doesn't represent black women, and it's like, not quite what she said, that is it? You know.
Yeah, true.
To me, it's like I think it is just. I think if he's clapping back at anyone, it's the fan base who have decided this about AEW.
Yeah. Interesting one though.
Indeed, definitely worth a listen.
So the last one to talk about and potentially have a bit of a discussion about is
No.
Okay. And that wraps up another. So, Tony Khan confirmed that there is. Well, the initial tweet that he put out is that there's going to be like the forbidden door is about to be busted wide open. Someone's coming to sign a contract and slamming that forbidden door closed. It was then revealed that that person is apparently a free agent. So then obviously people were like, oh, well, it's not really a forbidden door if it's a free agent, etc., etc. It's then
like,
since...
It's my phrase, I'll use it if I fucking want to.
It's then since grown arms and legs a little bit because he's been doing a lot of media, Tony, ahead of the show tonight. And basically he's said that he's off the back of the feedback and things like that he's seen. He's tweaked a few different things and moved a couple of things around. And basically, he was quoted as saying that there's going to be multiple announcements tonight on Dynamite. So it might not just be the one person showing up. It might be just one person, but there's other announcements that are happening.
I think that's the key phrase, isn't it? Announcements. There's other announcements.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But he was also quoted as saying when he was a kid, there was that higher power storyline in WWE, where it was like, who is the higher power? And it ended up being Vince McMahon. And obviously, he was really disappointed by that because him and his friend were like fantasy booking the whole thing in their heads about who they thought it was going to be, etc. And he said he doesn't want the fans to have that feeling. Like, whenever he says there's going to be an announcement, he doesn't want them to go, oh, it's definitely Vince McMahon. And it turns out to be Vince McMahon kind of thing. So he's almost alluding to the fact of all the big names that people think it is. He doesn't want it to be as... basically wants to keep them guessing, almost. So it probably isn't going to be the most obvious choice, I guess. But obviously speculation...
I think what he needs to balance, because he's done this before, Tony. What he needs to balance is you want to surprise him. You don't want to disappoint him. Like, so making it the person you didn't expect isn't necessarily always a good thing. Like, people are going to get themselves into a frenzy now and decide it's somebody. And
I mean,
if it's not someone equal or better, then they're going to be disappointed that it wasn't their guy. And this is the kind of the hornet's nest of making these sort of announcements, really.
I agree, but also I have to challenge it as well because
Fuck you then.
I remember obviously with Christian Cage. Now, obviously you were proper underwhelmed with that, weren't you? When
I was so underwhelmed.
Right, but all that Tony said was, "This is somebody who is a future Hall of Famer." Right, it's literally all he said. Right, and what happened is that generated that much speculation that the names that were on there were the likes of, oh, they've got Cena, they've got Brock Lesnar, they've got Batista.
There were some ridiculous names on there.
And it's like, well, obviously no, they haven't. So then it's so easy to be let down when you fabricate the impossible in your head almost. So it's like, it's having that balance of legitimately surprising somebody with something like that you don't announce, which I know AEW gets pressure from the network to, like, because when Sting just rocked up, that was just like, holy shit, Sting's just come. Like, where did that come from?
I prefer those. Like, it's even when I thought Matt Hardy appearing was a good surprise as well.
Exactly. So with that one, that was an example of what I think tonight might even end up being, where there was an announcement of we're going to find out who the leader of the Dark Order was on that night.
Yeah.
But they swerved us because the leader of the Dark Order was a debut in Brody Lee. But then they also had Matt Hardy debut on the same fucking episode. So it was like, what? We got both of them? Because they were the two guys that were massively speculated at the time, and it was so brilliantly done. So what they had to do for the network was announce that there's a surprise, but then they double surprised us, so it ended up being amazing. Whereas the Christian example, the Sting example, it was like that came out of nowhere, and everyone was like, whoa, this is amazing. But they didn't have the pressure from the network, and they actually got a lot of flack that was like, well, you need to start announcing these things, or people tune in to see them. We want more people to tune into the show, so that's why we're getting things like this, where it's like huge announcement and this kind of stuff every fucking 2 minutes. So I completely get it, but I think at the same time people need to stop over hyping it where possible.
Never.
But that being said, let's overhype it.
Okay. So let's realistic shouts. I think one of the main ones that seems to be favoured at the moment and could make a bit of sense, and we slightly alluded to it earlier in the news, Keith Lee.
Yeah. So
and honestly, could be a really good shout.
I think there was obviously as part of one of the releases, there was a load of names on there, wasn't there? And I think a few of them, their 90 days have just come up. So Keith Lee is one of them. I know Karrion Kross is another one. Even Harry Smith, he's another one. He was part of that same kind of... You're a terrible person.
I'm kidding. I'm sorry.
It's in one of them moods today, folks.
I mean, we haven't heard anything from Harry and his decisions yet, have we? Since really, we don't know if he's there's no sign of him back to MLW either. So that is another really good shout.
Yeah. So I mean, you've got those kind of names that have literally just become free agents. So I think that's why a lot of people are jumping on that to go, well, their 90 days are up. Maybe it's one of these guys. But I suppose you've then got guys who've been released way before that. So you've got the likes of your Bray Wyatts, Braun Strowman, Jonah, maybe. I even got something which I could see happening, to be fair, and hasn't been mentioned that much. Samoa Joe.
Interesting.
Because imagine if somehow Samoa Joe ends up part of that Bryan Danielson, Jon Moxley, Let's Take Over faction. With
LTOs.
That kind of background. Obviously, he's got a load of history with Punk and that as well, so that was an option. Then you've got the likes of, people think it could be Jeff Hardy. Now, Jeff only got released in December, so it hasn't been 90 days. People are speculating that his contract's been bought out, or he didn't have a 90-day release, or whatever. I'm not so sure, personally. I think we might see him there eventually. I'm not sure it'll be tonight.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. William Regal.
Could be William Regal. Now, with Regal, I'd love it if they signed him 100%. I'm not so sure about as an active performer, to be fair, but the thing that makes me think it won't be him is he's just opened a PWT's store. So if it was him, I don't know why he wouldn't just wait and do it under the AEW umbrella.
Throw people off the scent. People like you.
Maybe. Could be. I mean,
to be honest, I
don't know
threw it out there because I can speak sort of wishfully. I think he'd be a great asset to them. As I say, not necessarily in the ring, but a great asset to them. That being said, I think given the comments he made about WWE when he left, and it wasn't so much like, oh, he obviously doesn't hate WWE, so he can't go to AEW. It just felt a bit more like, I don't know, like he was done for a little bit, the way he was wording things, you know what I mean? So I don't think we're going to necessarily see him anywhere anytime soon.
No.
The PWT's store might make you think he's not, I totally disagree with my point, but I don't know, it just felt, when he's like, oh, I've been able to this life because of WWE and so on like this, and seemed to be almost reminiscent and almost like he was going to have a bit of time, So
yeah.
I don't know. That was me just throwing one out there, but I don't think he's gonna show up anyway.
We could. I mean, obviously, we're doing all the speculation about ex-WWE, and it could end up going the complete opposite way, where it's like a New Japan people, an Okada or a.
I think the reason I gravitate to ex-WWE is even as big a name as Okada and Ospreay, would they be names that I think a lot of people know who Keith Lee is.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're trying to appease the fans stateside, if you're expecting Keith Lee and you get Will Ospreay, all due respect to Will Ospreay, people are going to be disappointed.
Yeah.
And it's nothing against Ospreay, it's just that Keith Lee was a bigger name because he was in a big company and well known. So it kind of needs to be an ex-WWE because of the hype.
Well, exactly. I mean, I would prefer it to be, if I'm honest, because we don't watch New Japan. The only way, I mean, what if it was a Tama Tonga? What if they brought the Bullet Club?
Mate, if the Gorillas of Destiny rock up in AEW, I'm marking out.
Well, see,
right?
We don't know these
so
things.
I'll give you that, right? Tama Tonga would be fucking awesome.
So, I mean,
it would ruin my whole fantasy booking of him versus Roman Reigns at some point in the future.
Well, of course.
But that's fine. I can live with it.
You know who it could be? Shane McMahon. I mean,
that's not happening. Nah.
I mean, we laugh. I don't think he was under a 90-day non-compete talent contract, so he's just become a free agent. They're talking about forbidden doors. Would you ever expect to see a McMahon on AEW television? Like, that would be pretty fucking big, to be fair.
He'd want to have a match. He'd want to jump off something big, and he needs to fuck off. He needs to. It's like, you got McMahon all over my AEW. Nah, not keen.
I'm not saying it'd be
Pass.
the right choice, but I mean, we don't know, obviously, what's going to happen. But
I mean, what's Hulk Hogan doing these days? X-Pac. He definitely wanted to have a match or two.
Could be.
Sean Waltman, gonna see X-Pac rock up. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, it's created a hell of a lot of speculation. A lot of people wondering who it's going to be. Luckily for us, we're going to find out, very, very soon. So, we'll probably know by the time that this even goes up. So, we might even put it as our.
We know yet.
We might even put it as the title of the video. So, you can actually watch this and hear us speculate and see how right or wrong we were. But if you had to put your money on it, Anthony, so bear in mind, there's definitely a free agent who is going to come through the forbidden door to have a match with Isaiah Cassidy as a qualifying match for the Face of the Revolution ladder match.
Cassidy, okay.
Who could it be?
Okay, what I'd like, Bray Wyatt. What I think, probably Keith Lee.
Okay.
And if you look at the position, the match, and the Face of the something ladder match, right? That fits Keith Lee more. Yeah. Bray wouldn't really want to come in with that sort of like, I'm going to compete against Isaiah and become the face of Revolution. Like, I don't think that's how they bring Bray. They need to bring Bray in if they're going to do it more in like the sort of mystical way that they do with like people like Sting and stuff like that. Where it's got the overproduction and the mystery of who it is and all the smoke bollocks. And I don't think you get the same effect if it's like, yeah, you're going to Revolution, boy. So I think I don't know what that accent was. Sorry, but I think Keith Lee would fit the mold for like someone who, like, and this is no disrespect to him. Like, he was well known enough and popular enough in WWE, but he's never really had a significant run in WWE, so he's not like a legend or anything like that. But he could be huge in AEW, and I think the right way to do it is have him come in, smash Isaiah, go on, win the Revolution ladder match, and actually be in the title run.
Okay.
So we can all bask in his glory. I think that'd be a great fit for Keith Lee.
I like it.
What's yours?
Well, I'm working under the assumption that they haven't bought out Jeff Hardy's contract and that he has got a 90-day, so that he's unavailable basically. So because otherwise, I would think it probably would be Jeff because all signs indicates he's going there.
We asked before why they were after Darby Allin. I think that's why they need like a discount Jeff for a while until Jeff can arrive. Or Darby's going to fill that gap, I think.
Terrible person. But for me, there's only three people that I could see it being, which is either Karrion Kross, Samoa Joe, or Keith Lee. And I do think it's going to be Keith Lee.
I think the reason I haven't gone towards Karrion at all is because of the stuff he's doing with EC3 at the minute. And obviously, Scarlett's really busy with her OnlyFans. So, for me, Samoa is not a bad shout. He would almost be a little bit disappointing, no disrespect to him, because like he'd probably come back in a similar way to Dan Bryan where he'd want to wrestle, but like he has got injured a bit, you know what I mean? I don't know how much in-ring work is he going to give us,
Yeah.
Definite asset to the business, but Keith Lee, he's like, I don't know, bags of potential, man. People are going to be fairly hyped with that one.
Yeah, I think it's either going to be Keith Lee or it's going to be someone from New Japan somewhere that we just don't really care about. And we'll be like,
whoever it is, we've already had the little tease from Mikey Ruckus that he's the one who's done the theme music, so it's going to be a banger.
Oh, shit. I mean, that in itself is an interesting one. If you think about it, so like, obviously, how good was Boom for Adam Cole? So will it be some kind of like Limitless or something, You can see it now.
Did you just do Christian's old theme music?
Yeah, sort of. Yep.
Replace Christian with Limitless.
Limitless. At last, what if like you're in AEW?
What if like Mikey Ruckus is like low-key just been like a one-hit wonder and we didn't know. And he's going to come into like, I'm all about that limitless. Like, it's the same song.
Imagine.
You know? I kid, of course. Mickey Rourke is as talented as fuck.
Yeah, I mean, even that, like the fact he's teasing it, makes you think like, it's gonna, who's gonna come out to an absolute kick-ass theme song then? Interesting. But yeah, so that be the news. Hopefully by the time,
be like someone we completely forgot about.
Oh yeah,
like, shit, sure. Yeah, they were released.
Oh yeah, of course it was.
It's gonna be Scotty Too Hotty.
Imagine, Ric Flair comes in. But yeah, so hopefully by the time you watch this or listen to this, you will have already seen it, and you can use this bit of the news to see how right or wrong we were. Because of course it's all speculation at this point, but yeah, if we don't post this out until tomorrow, we'll know who it is. We'll add it on, and then yeah, you can see. But yeah, that was the news, Anthony.
And that was the news.
And that was another fun-filled week of the A2theK Wrestling Show. Obviously, we've got a hell of an awesome interview for you to check out this week as well. If you haven't checked out This Week in Wrestling, go over there, listen to our thoughts on that. But yeah, until next week, we will catch you on the flip, on the flap.
On the flip-flops.
Yeah, we'll catch you in flip-flops. And here is the one and only Thunder Rosa to say goodbye.
Hey everybody, this is Thunder Rosa, and you're watching or listening A2theK. A2theK.
A2theK.